So what we've got here is our trailer, which we have welded up and built these frames and this clamshell lid on top of to hold our rooftop tent and have a secure, not yet dried in, but will be dry, space to store additional camping gear inside of it. For when we go away on those longer camping trips and for when we take those extra few people in the Pajero Sport, we've now got the additional space. And it being low profile and everything like that means we're not going to be using too much more fuel, which is fantastic. The next thing, I want to figure out a few other bits of storage which are going to help out massively for when we go camping, and then on top of that, for when we tow bikes, which is the other purpose of this trailer, and is what these mount things here at the front are. But we aren't going to deal with those just yet. First, I want to figure out jerry cans. I have yet to have figured out a home for these jerry cans. I cannot think of anywhere to put them. If I put them at the front on the drawbar or mount them to the front tailgate, I'm obstructing the front tailgate. The front tailgate's not going to work as properly as it could. And that's against what we're trying to do here. We're trying to make everything modular and removable and just to limit how much we affect this trailer as much as possible. So this trailer can do multiple things. We want it to be able to do transport, we want it to be able to do transporting the bikes, like a bespoke bike trailer, and we want it to take camping as well. We want to be able to use it to go camping. So, I've been thinking, we can't fit the big, tall, normal size 20 litre jerry cans here, but we can fit these 10 litre little ones. Now that leaves us with a weird little space, but that got me to thinking, we might be able to utilise that. We might be able to embrace that and make this little cubby sort of an extra storage spot for firewood, which leads us to the back here. So with the back section, I've wanted a toolbox. I want somewhere to store all the ratchet straps and ropes and just stuff that normally stays with the trailer. And I might also put in a couple of those pouring spouts that's on the jerry cans because undoubtedly they're going to go missing as time goes on. And that goes to the big point. We need everything to be lockable, but we'll get to that. I'm thinking back here we install a toolbox. Now, because of the dimensions of this space and how narrow it is and how tall it is, I've not been able to find a toolbox that's going to work. It's just nothing works. And then the next issue we have is hinges. The door can only open up so high because it goes into the coaming rail, and I don't want to remove that because that's a great tie down point. And as the hinge opens up on so many of these toolboxes, the lid goes back past or behind the where the toolbox is. So you need to offset the toolbox so it's got a space in the back, which is just vacant space, and then the toolbox sticks all the way out here. So we're not going to do that. We're going to try and make our own custom toolbox, and because we're doing that, we can make it any dimension we want. And that's perfect. So I think we're going to make a tall, skinny one because ultimately it's just holding ropes and ratchets, so it doesn't need to be very big. And then all the leftover space we've got going on here, more firewood storage. I don't think we're ever going to have an issue with transporting firewood. It'll be so easy to just pick up and just put in there. And yeah, that won't be lockable, but it's firewood. You can always pull over the side of the road and get more. So I think that's what we're going to do. But I reckon we're going to start with the front because I think that's going to be the easiest. And I think it's probably the best to sort of get the general premise in because I think building the toolbox is going to be the most difficult part for me, for the way that I'm thinking of doing it. But we'll see how we go with that. For now, let's figure out some angles, make some measurements, cut some steel, and see about welding up a rough idea. And then everything we do on this side, we can copy and paste it, put it on the other side. So let's get started. I think I start here. I won't work on the door that's going to hold these in just yet. I'll do this, I reckon. Yeah. That means we're going to have to think with a magnetic 45-degree slant, finding a perfect right angle would be easy. No, I'm sitting here for ages trying to find this.
This is the perfect kind of project because not only do I get to produce something that I'll actually use, but I also get to further practice my amateur welding and fabrication skills, which I'm in sure need of as I'm by no means qualified to do any of this work and I want to tackle far more complex projects in the future. But I think that only makes this multi-purpose trailer so much better of a project for me.
Yeah. All right, that's pretty good.
I've got easy access with no obstructions, and it doesn't need to be super pretty since this is a trailer that's going to get beaten up, and it's that perfect level of challenge with easy angles and simple cuts. And yet there are lots of different types of welds and different types of connection points and varying thicknesses of material, along with plenty of thinking to be done.
I have had a brilliant idea. Where's a bit of offer? Because this side's already going to be a faff, and we want it strong because well, ultimately that's going to take most of the force. But if we accelerate super fast because we're in a super high performance car, we want it sliding back and it's going to hit something there. But look at this weird space, right? I haven't known what to do with this weird space. I don't need a big toolbox, right? It's just ratchet straps and ropes. Why don't we just pop a little lid right there and make this the toolbox? I like it. Oh, I really like that idea. I really like that idea. And then the back, if I choose to do it, depending on weight, because I am a bit worried about weight, the back can just be wood storage. And that's a cleaner wood storage. It's so much easier. Like, wood's not going to really fit in there. Why didn't I think of that? We're making custom toolboxes. We can put the toolbox wherever we want. I'm an idiot. Absolute idiot. That does now mean we need to put something here for sure. That looks square. I love me some of that. Dude, that's actually so cool.
Who would have known? Who would have thought that when you make something from scratch, when you make something custom, you can make it any way you could possibly imagine? This is truly a new radical way of thinking that I have just discovered, one that I'm clearly not used to in this throwaway society where we replace rather than repair and build. But honestly, my capabilities to build isn't my ultimate concern here. It's the weight.
Sweet. And then we put a little thing over here. Oh, it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be beautiful.
This trailer weighs just over 300 kilos empty without the lid and all the additional metal we are whacking on. And we need to keep that dry weight down so that when we are all done, we don't exceed the gross trailer mass of 750 kilos when it's fully loaded. If we do, we can get some big fines heading our way along with a defected trailer. Fortunately, however, there are ways around this with upgrading the axle to a brake trailer axle and increasing the leaf spring weight ratings. But that's all at an additional cost. Ideally, we just want to add the right amount of material so that we maintain strength without too much additional weight.
So, I have spent about, I don't know, maybe an hour or two welding up a whole bunch of these little tabs. And all they are is just a nut welded onto a little bit of roughly 20 by 20. It's not perfect. I wasn't being super pedantic about it because I knew I was going to have to grind these back after I've welded them on anyway. So, I made them roughly the right size. And they're what we're going to use to secure everything. So they're now welded to the base of this and it's properly in there. And it's just holding the thing down with some bolts screwed in. Now, I did want to put one further up here. It didn't quite fit. I can't quite get to it. I've drilled the hole and everything in. By the time I went to put the bolt in, I had no access. So unfortunately, we're not going to put one there. I might have to put another one that mounts it to the walls of the trailer, but we'll see how it goes. Right now, it's super, super sturdy, but I do think having something to stop it from rocking that way would be beneficial, even if it's not going to do it that much. Now, the next thing I really want to tackle is the door that we're going to have here to secure our jerry cans. I've got some just basic hinges that I want to be able to bolt on, bolt off kind of deal, like super cheap, just, you know, cheap and dirty hinges that can be easily replaced. I'm going to put two of them along here, but in order to use those hinges, I need a countersunk bolt. I do not have any countersunk bolts, so I'm going to have to get some of those. I'll probably get some M6 ones just so they fit the riv nuts that I've got and stuff like that, so that's no dramas. So yeah, now we're going to do that. Now the only way we're going to do that is just we're going to build a big rectangle and then we're going to fill it in with some mesh, some solid wire, galv wire, which will all get painted in the end. This toolbox here, we've still got to build the lid for it, but once again, I don't have the bolts for the hinges, so we can't do that just yet. But what we're going to do with it is instead of and putting the mesh in so you can see everything thing. We're actually going to seal it up, and the way we're going to do that is use some sheet metal and just wrap the sheet metal around it. I've never done anything like that before, so I'm really interested to give it a shot. It's one of the reasons I want to do it, is just to see how good I can of the job. And then once we've done this door, the next bit I want to tackle is a home for our wheel chocks. That's the word for them. So they're going to take up too much room in the toolbox. Fortunately, however, we've got room back there to put them. So I'm going to put some back there where the wood storage is as well. So we've got plenty of access and plenty of room for everything. For now though, let's build this door and then we can start working on this backside. Now the only thing I need to worry about is the thickness of these hinges. It's about the thickness of that, which works out well. How good does that look? That looks great. Right. I should weigh all these pieces. Oh, I'll weigh the whole trailer once I'm done, and we'll go from there to see how much heavier it is. It weighed 320 kilos before we started adding stuff to it, so we'll see how much more it weighs. Right, let's do the back. Nice. Right, now we're going to work close. Put in some mesh. Sick! Oh, I love me some of that. Now we're going to figure out how we're going to mount it all.
I think if we really wanted to be weight conscious, I should have used aluminum, but I don't yet know how to weld aluminum, though I did consider using this trailer to teach me aluminum and TIG welding, but I ultimately decided against it as I'm super keen to use this trailer. I've actually went camping a couple times whilst this project here has been in limbo, as I've tackled it here and there when I'm free, and every time I would set up camp, I would imagine how much easier it will be.
Sick, and there's no way to get them out. That is mad. I love it.
I'm sure we'll still have our dramas, and I'm sure the drawbar will annoy me with my in-car tailgate kitchen setup, but we won't truly know what I want to change for version 2 until we use it. But before then, we still have to check I've seam welded everything, give it all a clean, and organise paint, which I'm thinking of doing here in-house. It may not last as long as if I got it powder coated, but it will be a good test for our setup before we go ham painting the VK Commodore.
Right, so I just thought, oh, I needed that. All right, so I just thought, you know, I've made my lid for my little toolbox. I thought I would, rather than starting with the toolbox itself to wrap it in sheet metal, I'd start with the lid just because I thought it would be a bit easier, and I've never wrapped anything with sheet metal before. This turned out way better than I was expecting. I was expecting this to be miserable. I'm not too sure how I'm now going to secure these flaps down because I don't want to put rivets through this. I think it looks too nice now. It does need a bit of tidying up. I might go and try and smooth these out, or maybe just bash it with a hammer a little bit to make these corners a bit nicer because right now they're a bit pointy. But way nicer than it has any right to be, given that I just cut it up crudely and waxed it on there. This lid too, I think it is, I shouldn't have used such thick flat bar. It's way overkill, but it works and it looks great. It's way heavier than it needs to be, but it's sick. I'm genuinely so chuffed with how well this worked out. I'll tidy it up a little bit, maybe put some tack welds in to sort of like hold the sheet metal down into place, although this isn't, I can't get the thing out now. It's properly in there, so that's good news all round. All right, now with that mostly done, we can work on this. This is going to be interesting to wrap. So all we're going to do is wrap that side and wrap that side, and everything else will be exposed. Not looking too bad. My cutting's a bit poor there. I should have used the factory edge for that. Let's see how it looks. Oh. God damn. Dude! Doesn't it just make it look so much more polished? Hang on, let's get the lid. And we go kaplop. Oh, doesn't it look so pretty? Doesn't it look so pretty? I figured before we permanently secure the sheet metal to the bits that we've made, it's probably best to paint the bits we can't get to in Galv. So I thought for now, I just want to see how it all looks. And oh my god, dude, I love it. I think the biggest issue we're going to have is that this is all quite heavy. It would have been better if I had built it all out of alloy, but for now, I think this is fantastic. Secure, well, soon to be secure storage for jerry cans, for ratchet straps and ropes and just little bits and pieces. I can even put one of these nozzles in there so we don't lose it. And then we've got the chocks. They've got a home. They're not going to go anywhere. They're not secure, but who gives a damn? They're cheap. I'm not that fussed about them. And like, worst comes to worst, we can just always chuck a bit of wood in. And then we've got the wood storage. It's all incredibly robust too. And if anything, I have strengthened the trailer. I love it, man. I love it. So this side is pretty much completely finished. Now, I have ran out of welding gas, so I haven't been able to completely finish it. but it's looking good enough to where I'm satisfied. Everything else I need, I can do with it off of the trailer. So that's okay. So with that done, we can now look at doing the need a bigger shed. Oh, it's not going to make the corner. You get the memo though. We can do the other side. So with that side now done, we can look at doing this side, which as you can see, is already done. How fantastic is that? It's magic. So once I'd finished that first side and I was happy with everything, I just straight away started tackling this. Now, I am out of welding gas, so I haven't been able to completely finish it. Still need to build the lid for this and put the sheet metal on and then stick the sheet metal to it. But that's okay, we can do that when it's off the trailer, which is the next task. So we're gonna take all of this off. I must admit, this might need a bit more cleaning up this side. All of it, I'm gonna have to go over with a flat disc or something just to sort of make it a bit of a nicer surface and get rid of any splatter that there might be. But this side, I think just because I wasn't as into it, like I'd already figured it all out, so I was just sort of ticking it on, or just sort of, yeah, just sort of bumming along with it, and I wasn't paying as much attention as I probably should with it. And not that any of the welds are particularly pretty on the other side, but this side they're just even less so. But it's good from afar, so, you know, that's the main thing. And once we get some paint on it, you know, it's going to be all right. And it's a trailer, so who really cares? So the next step really is take all this off, get it ready for paint, clean it all up. There's a few things we need to address, a few things we need to fix with this main assembly here. So on it, we have mounted these gas struts, as I have learnt from yours truly. Speaking as in you, not me, that these are upside down. Apparently with the way that these seals work, it's something to do with lubrication or something. I'm not 100% sure, but we're going to spin these around on the final iteration when we reassemble everything too. When we flip it over too, we're going to finish off welding these brackets that hold the struts in place. I think they're fine. I think they're strong enough now, but I want to make sure that they're properly strong and we're never going to have any dramas at all. So I'll finish that off. And that's about it. So it's just a little bit of touch-up welding and then prep, and then we can paint all of it, which would be nice because it is already starting to corrode in this winter that we're having at the moment. But let's start disassembling. I think we'll start with the flares, the stuff on the sides, and then pull this off with the front loader. And then we can work on the motorbike bits.
This trailer is coming along beautifully. Not only have we been able to tick off every box so far with a rooftop tent, additional storage, jerry can storage, toolboxes, and it's all removable and lockable, but I think it also looks the part too, being far more polished than I thought I was even going to be able to achieve, especially with the original idea of putting the toolboxes at the back. However, what truly takes the cake by far is my welding. My welds may not look pretty, but every time I've had to grind one back or cut one apart, there has been no evidence of cavitation, air pockets, or any indication that we haven't gotten good penetration. Which for a kid who doesn't know what he's doing, I think that's not too bad.
We think damaging everything. Get this off. Lovely. Lovely.
Pats on the back aside, we are now looking at how we are going to be able to make this a bike trailer too. Now that does mean when we need to transport bikes, we cannot have a rooftop tent on it as well, which we could have gotten around by having a taller trailer with the rooftop tent up higher. But I ultimately wasn't interested in worrying about a trailer that could topple over when I'm off-road. So we are sticking with this modular design.
It is so goddamn nice that I'm not having to deal with iron filings everywhere anymore because they're all gone, which is fantastic. They were going to create some more with mounting these things. So what these things are is these are used to tie down your bikes to make it a bit easier. What you do is you come along, you drive your bike into this, it flips up. This is where the front wheel sits, and it just locks it in place to make it easier to tie everything down. I've never used them before, but everyone I speak to says having a system like this is absolutely fantastic. So we're gonna give it a shot, we're gonna give it a try. The big thing with them is that once you have them in place, they're fixed and you can't move them around other than, you know, pulling them out and drilling some more holes and putting them elsewhere, which has its drawbacks, especially in a trailer this small with such high walls. So we're gonna have to give some considerations to what we actually own and what we might own in the future. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna sort of try and do a bit of a dummy fit. So I'm gonna put some bikes in here, see how they fit, see, you know, how much we're gonna have to offset these by, if, you know, 2 bikes even fit in here, and then mount them down, and then that's everything. So let's get some motorbikes out and hopefully get them both to fit. A little snug. Here's a little snug. Bugger. Might have to come up with another plan. Might have to come up with another plan. A couple of problems. This may be a dirt bike only transport. And the reason I say that is twofold. One is the width. It's just, if I move, in order to make this work for the width of the flaring and the exhaust on a regular road bike, one of these would have to be quite far this way, and then we won't be able to fit 2 dirt bikes in there, even if we stagger them massively. Bit unfortunate there. Secondly, now that we've raised the trailer, it's incredibly difficult to get a road bike up in here. Obviously right now it's slanted that way, which makes it harder. But I think even still we're gonna struggle. So look, I haven't yet encountered a situation where I need to transport my road bike, especially because now it's out of warranty and everything. I do all the servicing myself. So maybe this is just dirt bike transport. The next issue we've encountered is these are a bit, well actually it's not so much these, it's the motorbikes. They're a bit longer than I thought. Yeah. So, a couple of things we can do. We can just leave them on as they are and just remove the rear tailgate. The only issue with that is then we have to deal with faffing around and put the tailgate somewhere else and tie the tailgate down. It's a big pain in the arse, and I'm trying to make this as easy as possible for myself. So the next option is to do what I've got here. Lower the front tailgate down and push these forward. The issue with that is every time we need to, every time we want to use this as a motorbike transport, we have to then bolt these down because I can't flip this tailgate up because these things are longer than the tailgate itself. So, a couple options. We can get rid of this whole system completely and not use it, or figure out a way to make it shorter so then it can fit just on the door of the tailgate. The issue with that though is the wheels are big on dirt bikes. Like making it this shorter in order to catch the wheel is going to be quite tricky. So the next option is to bolt it down. I'm hesitant to do that because I'm trying to make this easy, and having bolts into the trailer, I just know I'm going to avoid using it and avoid transporting the bikes because of it, because it's going to be a faff to do it, which is a bit ridiculous, but it's how I think. So that's what's going to be the case. I know what's going to happen. So I want to try and make this as easy as possible to do and undo. and I've had a thought. Now, I'm still trying to avoid putting any sort of marks on this trailer to where I'm going to have to repaint it, because I just don't have this colour and I don't want mix match panels. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm going to stick a bolt. Now ideally this would be welded, but I'm not going to weld it. I'm going to stick a bolt up through the bottom of the trailer. We're going to put a nut on it. We're going to do it down really, really tight. And then we're going to put this on top of that and put another nut on it. So that means that it all being well, these can be removed with just a ratchet spanner and or a socket and four nuts. And then you just pull them off, and the studs, which will be these bolts, will stay there. That's the plan, at least. We'll see whether or not it comes to fruition, and how much it's going to annoy me. But now I've got to figure out whereabouts I want them placed, in what orientation, and how much I move them forwards and backwards and offset them. And then we'll test it out. Where'd your ball go? Oh, you found it. I am so stoked. This has turned out not quite as the way I envisioned, but it has turned out really, really well. I'm genuinely super, super stoked. And it means we can take these both out now in the same trailer. It is so much less hassle. Obviously there's a bit of clearance issues at the moment. They're a bit too close for comfort, but we can get different heights, torque, compressor, brace, I don't know what you call them, but we can set them up differently. We can put one to one side and figure it all out as the different length bikes. This is a 110, that's a 250, this is Kawasaki, this is Honda. They're going to be differences, and we can figure that all out. But it works. And everything now is practically done on the trailer. All the fabrication work, all the little bits and pieces, all the design, it is now done. It is completely done. Oh, soon we're going to be able to use it. It's going to be nice. So the next step really, other than getting a gas bottle and finishing off the welding, is the next step really is we've got to get everything painted. So we're not going to paint the trailer, we're going to leave the trailer the same colour. We're going to paint all the frame and everything a satin black. I've been umming and ahhing whether or not I get it powder coated. Powder coated would last the longest and would probably be the best. However, in that shed over there is a VK Commodore, which we've said we're going to paint. And rather than just jumping straight onto that and testing with some of the panels, I think we first start by testing on this frame. So I think we'll paint this frame. It may not be as robust. I don't know what system we're going to use yet, but I'm going to buy some guns. I'm going to test it out, practice my paint skills because I've never done it before, and see how we go. And hopefully we can turn out something okay on that, and that will give me a bit more confidence when painting the Commodore. So that's really the next step. I've got to finish off my last bit of fabrication, and then we can paint. For now, I can use this as it is. I can finally transport motorbikes and stuff around, which is just sensational. How good is that? These things are sensational too. I can't believe I've lived so long without them. They just hold it. Look, there's nothing strapped down. It's just, they're just sitting there. And they're so stable. Like, I drove that one up. Well, pushed it up with, like, crazy. Just crazy. Countersunk bolts. So, do you call them countersunk bolts? Just like flush bolts? I don't know what you call them, but anyway, I don't have them. Toolbox doesn't work very well with no things on it. Well, hello there. Where'd your ball go? Where'd it go? And the reason I say that